show you how to turn these simple 5 pieces of foam into this Wonder Woman bracer right here. Now the colorway that you choose to paint this is going to depend if it's the Justice League or the Wonder Woman, because one has silver, the other one doesn't. So pretty simple build. Let's get into it. Alright, so I got everything set up here. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to grab these 2 pieces. You'll notice that there are 2 little slits right here. Those are for you to know exactly where this lines up, like so. And once you have that lined up and it looks even, you can grab like a pencil. I have this piece thing right here that's called an awl. AWL. It's like a leather tool usually to kind of mark leather, but it works just as nicely on foam. So I have like 2 markings right here, so that I know where exactly this falls. Now I'm going to get into why this is important, is because we're going to cut a channel into this so that this can kind of sink in and sit a little bit. So you're going to grab yourself an X-Acto knife, make sure you have a fresh blade inside of it. It's important to have a fresh blade because it just makes it easier on you in your life. So I'm just going in and cutting about 3/4 of the way through the foam. You really want to be careful not to cut all the way through. As you can see, I didn't make it all the way through. And then now that I've done this, I'm gonna go ahead and take out this much of the foam. So basically, right, you're taking this much out. So you're gonna go back in on the other side and just try and get your cut lines to meet with each other. It's okay if it's a little uneven. That's not gonna make or break this process. You just kind of go in back and forth until you've removed that piece completely. Okay, like I said, if the inside is not too even, that's perfectly fine. If you want to go back in and level it out, that's okay. But so notice, see, you're kind of like 3/4 of the way into that. So I'm gonna go ahead and fast forward through this side, and then we're just gonna move on to the next step. Okay, now that we've cut off that excess piece, we can go ahead and place this right there, and that drops in quite nicely. Okay, and eventually we'll glue this shut, but as you can see, all right, that goes in really nicely. So now that we have this, we're gonna grab these pieces, we're gonna do something similar to them. So you'll notice that there are these little corner edges here. What you want to do is grab a ruler and just kind of trace out, there we go, from one end to the other, and from here to this back end here, all the way. Basically just giving yourselves a visual cue of where the pattern, the laser etch pattern, ends. You can kind of tell without making the lines, but it's better to be safe than sorry. Okay, so now that we have this, we're gonna do something very similar to what we just did with our first piece. We're gonna go ahead and slice into it, going towards this middle piece here, and then we're going to slice down into here to meet the first slice that we did. So basically you're taking out this piece right here, and we're going to do that all the way around, and we're going to fast forward through this step. Okay, so once you're done with your pieces, they should look like this, right? Just have a tiny sliver of the edge left. These are actually a lot easier to do than the first one that we did. And so what's gonna happen is this is glued together, this will be able to just come in and sit right in here. You might want to switch them around if you don't see that it fits well in one way, because there is a right and a left, they're just not labeled. So if it doesn't fit perfectly on one end, try it on the other, because one of the sides is slightly longer than the next. So the first way I put it didn't fit, second way fits just fine. So we're gonna have something like this once we've glued everything together. All right, so now that we have this, one thing that you guys need to notice is in the Wonder Woman armband, there is a bit of, well, not even a bit, there's definitely a fold just right there going down the middle. And on this one, I kind of messed up and I actually cut everything all the way through. We're not going to do this time around. If the technique that I'm about to use, you find that it's too difficult, then definitely feel free to just cut both pieces at a 45 angle on the edge and then just glue them back together. Maybe like sand your seam to get it not to have this, it's barely visible, but I do have a little bit of a seam line here. So I'm going to use a little bit of a different technique. So once I figured out what is the front of my pieces, I can just label them. So front and front. So I'm going to turn this around to the back, obviously, and I'm going to connect this point to this point here. I'm grab my ruler, drag that down. I'm gonna go ahead and grab this piece, flip it around, connect the 2 points here and here. All right, so now this is the back of your pieces. You should have a line going through them like this. Now is probably a good time to label these left and right, just so you know when you're putting them back on, so you're not looking for the one that fits the right way. Okay, so we have this, and what I'm going to do is again slice about halfway through this. All right, I'm going to do the same here. Slice halfway through. Actually, I'll do one and then I'll fast forward through the other one because the process is going to be exactly the same. Okay, so I have my slice. All right, as you guys can see, so that's open. And now what I'm going to do is, also, if you feel that your blade is snagging, it's amazing how quickly foam dulls blades. So if you feel that it's not cutting like butter when you make your cuts, especially when you're trying to do something as refined as this, change your blade. Get a pack of 100 blades from Amazon. It's like $9. I'll leave a link in the description. And just do yourself a favor and don't struggle with a dull blade. So now that I have my fresh blade in, and as you guys saw, I had made my cut down the middle. I'm gonna go ahead, and you can do this with a ruler. You can do it freestyle. If you are concerned that you can't do it freestyle and that you want lines there so that you know that you're cutting equal distance on both sides, you can just go ahead and trace you some lines right there, just kind of act as a guide. So now what I'm doing is this is my blade straight, this is my blade at kind of a 45-degree angle. So at this 45-degree angle, I'm going to cut into the foam just enough so that it slices down to where this middle part is. Once I'm done with that, I'm going to show you guys what that looks like. So again, being very careful not to cut all the way through the foam, just enough that we get to that middle cut that we put down there the first time around. Okay, so as you can see how it is now, I'm gonna go ahead and take these pieces out that I just cut out, and now I have this nice trench, 45-degree trench in here. And now what that's gonna do is I can fold this over, and now I have this nice bevel out here, right, without having a seam. If you're finding that this is too difficult for you to do, like I said, feel free, let's pretend that this is our piece, right? So feel free to go ahead and let's say that this is our center line, okay? So you're gonna go ahead and do a 45-degree cut this way, right? And then you'll be left with this, with the cut facing on the outside. So you're gonna now reverse this and do that same 45-degree cut, but on the inside, right? So you've basically gotten rid of the same amount that I did, except you split it right down the middle. And then you can go ahead and glue it back together. And if you do a good job at aligning the two surfaces, you may not even have a seam. We have all of our cuts made for our top and bottom pieces, all of our cuts on these side pieces, and now it comes to this piece. You might have noticed that in the tutorial there was a larger piece of this. That was an outdated piece. I went back and just re-edited the video with the proper piece that you guys are going to be receiving, so there is no confusion. Alright, so when it comes to this step, I left this one for last on purpose because it's one of those pieces where it's going to be up to you how much or how little of it you use. So this is this part right here that comes out to about, let's say, like a 1/4 of an inch above this, but that's my personal preference. This is not like 100% screen accurate. It's as close as I could get it, but it's up to you guys, like how much of this piece is going to show in this top area. So you could go really, really thin, or you could go, you know, the whole thing. Completely up to you. So I'm gonna go, like I said, about 1/4 of an inch above this first tip, which leaves me just about here, a little lower, right there. All right, so I'm gonna hold that position. I'm just gonna mark this with my pen, a marker, all, whatever you guys laying around for that. All right, from here to there. So now I know where my line is for this. So I'm gonna go ahead and trace that so I have it. So as you guys can see, this is like how much more I have to work with. And now what I'm going to do is something very similar to what we did for this, except this time we're setting the parameters. So I'm going to give this 1/4 of an inch outside of this line, and same distance outside of this line. So I kind of fast forwarded through the cut, but basically, all in all, your piece is going to look like this. Focus in a little bit. All right, so you're going to have your lip edges here, and then you're going to go in the back and you're going to do the same cuts, right, so that it folds and has this nice piece. And basically at this point, all we have to do is glue everything together. So I'm going to go ahead and fast forward through the process. You'll be able to see all of the steps, but basically this arrangement that you guys see right here is what we're going to do as far as like gluing everything together. And then this is going to go get glued to this piece. When it folds, it's going to get glued to that piece. All right, I'll catch you guys at the next step. Guys, so this is the final result. As far as attaching this is concerned, obviously you can just wrap it around your arm, cut off any excess, and then you can do, you know, a couple of things. You can either put some elastic waistband on the back. I ended up gluing mines on both sides, which means I have to slide it on. You can just glue your stuff on one side and then Velcro the other. That way you kind of attach, wrap it around your arm. As far as painting is concerned, you do want to go over the entire piece with your heat gun to kind of seal the foam. Once you seal the foam, do use a couple of coats of Plasti Dip on your piece before you paint. I'm not going to go over the paint job because it's pretty self-explanatory. For those of you who really want to be screen accurate, you will notice that there is an extra edge here where those lines meet. And so the same technique that we use to do these beveled edges here in the front, you can use to do the bevel edges here on the sides if you know, if that's really a concern for you. But the overall shape itself is pretty accurate to what she wears in the movie. So I hope this was helpful for you guys. And if you guys have any questions or concerns, go ahead and leave them in the comment section. I try to answer those as much as possible. So this was Cass from GiveWave Studios, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Cheers.